Today we're at a Rocky Mountain Bikes demo here at Kohler Mountain Bike Preserve, and I am thrilled to ride the new Rocky Mountain Element. This is the Carbon 70 model and it retails for $6,819. I was hoping to ride the aluminum A50 model to compare it more to my Trek Top Fuel, but this was the only model they had, which is roughly about $3,000 more than my bike. Is it $3 better? Let's go ahead and find out. Really quick spec-wise, this bike has 130 millimeters of travel up front from a Fox 34 Float Performance Elite and 120 millimeters out back with the Fox Float DPS Performance Elite. Full XT drivetrain, 2-piston XT brakes, WTB rims laced to a Rocky Mountain hub up front and a race face hub in the rear. That's interesting. Anyways, those roll on Maxxis Recon tires and a 2.4 inch width. One thing I'm gonna knock spec-wise is it does use a press-fit bottom bracket. This bike does offer a 4-position flip chip and I rode the bike in position 3, which they call the neutral position. This gave me a 65.5 degree head tube angle, 76.5 degree seat tube angle, and a 480 millimeter reach. Pretty hard hitting numbers that can get even more slack if you fancy. If you want more details, I've left a link to the Rocky Mountain website down below. Let's go ahead and get to riding, but first, a few caveats about reviewing a demo bike. I rode this bike for 45 minutes and it felt like I was climbing for about 44 minutes of that time. I haven't ridden Kohler much. You take a couple wrong turns and you're climbing even more. I don't know what air pressure was in the tires. I didn't bother asking. That's on me. The representative did a pretty great job setting up the suspension, given they do it in such a short amount of time. I don't really know how much I weigh anymore. I don't have a scale, and I think I've lost some weight. I'm an idiot, and apparently I left the rear shock in trail mode the whole time.
Did you leave it in open and play around with that?
No, I didn't even notice.
So I never actually had the rear shock fully open. And lastly, it had rained a lot the day before, so a lot of trails were closed, and I'm a complete coward when it comes to wet rocks.
Oh no, I don't like this.
That's a lot of freaking caveats, but it didn't stop me from having an incredible time on this bike. Since I spent a good portion of this ride going uphill, I will say climbing on this bike was excellent. Rocky Mountain's website claims this bike weighs 27.5 pounds, and I believe it. It was very noticeable when climbing up this gravel road. A firm pedaling platform that allowed me to put power directly to the wheel, but again, the shock wasn't fully open, so that was probably helping me out quite a bit. My Trek weighs somewhere around 32 pounds, so dropping almost 5 pounds was pretty life-changing when climbing up this road. I found it easier to maneuver tight switchbacks than I anticipated on this bike with its longer wheelbase and slacker front end, but this bike was just full of welcomed surprises. When it came to flat sections where you had to really pedal and sprint, the responsiveness of this bike was unbelievable. The power transfer felt nearly immediate, and this thing shoots off with no hesitation.
This bike is good.
My only criticism of the ride quality was when you're going slow to medium speeds, where there's a lot of small rocks and bumps. It was kind of rattling my bones a little bit.
This thing is rattling me to death on these little rocky sections.
I can't judge the bike or say you'll have the same experience because you'll probably have the shock fully open and it'll be doing its job as intended. For the brief moments I had this bike pointed downhill, this thing was like riding a bullet train. I expected the light weight of this bike to feel uncertain at speed, but this thing was ready to plow through everything. It kept building speed like a drunk uncle, pushing you faster and faster down the road. You can let go now, Uncle Jerry. That's fast enough. I'm terrified. The couple rock gardens I did go through, it felt like nothing, and it was actually a little bit more reassuring than my Trek. The fact that you have 2 more positions to slacken this bike out even more is incredible. It felt incredibly composed in position 3, so if you prioritize downhill, put it in position 1 and go rip that thing. I didn't get much of a chance to jump this bike, but I don't see why it would be an issue at all. I am incredibly blown away by this bike, and I honestly do think it could be the one perfect bike to do just about everything. Would I buy this particular model? Absolutely not. While this bike is arguably better than my Trek Top Fuel, it wasn't a night and day mind-melting difference that would justify me spending an extra $3,000. I really do hope I can ride the A50 model. It's similarly priced and spec'd to my bike, and if I could ride those two bikes back to back, ooh, I honestly think that would be a really tough choice between the two. I'm going to go ahead and give this bike a Cobra score, and surprise, surprise, we have a new leader. The Element performs well in nearly every category, but it does have a below average value score. I looked at several competitors at a similar price, and you can often get nicer components for cheaper on these other brands. The Transition Spur, the YT Izzo, Canyon, Lux, Trail, Ibis, Ripley, hell, even the Trek Top Fuel 9.8 offers some nicer parts for the same or less money. This of course doesn't mean those bikes ride better than the Element, but if you're looking at a pure value proposition, those other bikes offer a little bit more. The Element does come in two cheaper carbon options, plus the aluminum options, so if you need an incredible riding machine and you don't want to spend $7,000, I would check some of those out. Thank you to Rocky Mountain Bikes and Bentonville Bicycle Company for putting on a rad demo event and giving me the opportunity to ride a Rocky Mountain Element on a Tuesday afternoon. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing if you aren't already. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, stay rowdy within reason.